This is Avengers Unplugged number 2. And if this is the Avengers Unplugged, you better plug them back in, because this is woeful. I reviewed the first issue of this, and then I also remembered ages ago I had done issue 5 because it had Captain Marbles, the real one, Genesville, as well as Captain Marbles, the real one, Monica Rambeau. They were in it. It is not a good series, and these first 2 issues are terrible and so disappointing. The covers for both of them have been bad too, although I would say this one is much worse than the first issue's cover. This is a bad layout, and when I saw it, I thought of that really good Supergirl cover from the recent All video, and how this could have been done so much better. The bad guy for this one is, well, the first issue had an insanely OP baddie. It had Nephiman, who is like very, very strong and powerful. They then had a script that devalued him and didn't accurately portray his threat level. And so we have another one this issue. Don't worry if you cannot recognise who it is. Like Moonstomp last issue, this character receives an ugly new costume that never makes an appearance outside of this issue. Unlike Moonstomp's new costume, which at least maintained a colour scheme, this one is unrecognisable. This is Count Gravity. You know, that very, very powerful bad guy from the Avengers, who prior to this had always wore blue and white and had a cape. Well, now he is wearing green power armor. And we have the Avengers, and it is Lifecry who is on monitor duty this week. Lifecry, another one of them Avengers members who got it rough when Kurt Busey and Tom Beevort showed up to dictate things. She was a member of the team for 30, 40 issues, and that is a sizable amount of time, and she had a character and personal relationships with the team, and then she was just impolitely ignored for over a decade. Kurt Busey even did stories where he brought in what he considered all the members of the Avengers, and she wasn't there. Kurt Busey did stories involving the Shite Horse Empire, and she wasn't called on. She is from the 90s, so she doesn't count. When she finally does resurface, it is in that mini-series where she dies a graphic death. We also have Hercules Man in a tank top. It was the 90s. And the team in this is more or less the same as in the first issue, just with Scarlett Johansson swapped out for Lifecry. Even though Scarlett Johansson is on the cover, she is not in the issue. I suppose Life Cry is a modest improvement. You have to turn this page sideways, which I love doing. The Avengers gone to stop Count Gravity, and he straight away brings down their jet. The Avengers are, like in the first issue, mostly incompetent. Hank Gordon and Division should have recognised that going to confront Count Gravity in a jet was stupid, because he could just bring it down with his powers. So we get to see the Avengers fight Count Gravity, and it's not good. Count Gravity is a very formidable bad guy. There is an issue of Thunderballs where he holds all of Earth's superheroes captive. And I mean all of them. The Avengers, Fantastic Force, the Excellent Men. He holds them all captive in the sky, using his powers to hold them in place. He is really one of the most powerful villains on Earth, and he is treated like a chump in this. And then you have got to turn this page sideways too, which I love doing, and it is for the best bit of the comic, which is when Hank Gordon actually displays some of his intellect. He increases his body's mass to combat and try and cancel out Count Gravity, increasing the gravitational force on him. And just when you start thinking, hey, they are writing Hank Gordon well here, he seems to be actually accomplishing something. But then they tell you off for getting excited about a character being written well by insisting that Hank was being irrational, and if he had actually knocked Count Gravity out while fighting him, he would have inadvertently killed loads of people who were being held afloat by Count Gravity's powers. People we haven't seen before now, by the way. I suppose the best part of the issue is we have a little, and I must stress a little, subplot where Life Cry saves some civilians. That stuff is alright. And then the story starts saying Count Gravity, he isn't that good, because he has lost control of his powers, and that is what is causing all of this. And this is taking a very intimidating and powerful bad guy and just making him some lame fella who cannot really do much and doesn't have control over his incredible power. There was another Thunderballs issue where he murdered almost the entire team. I've actually reviewed that one. Very good issue. He brutally kills most of them. Count Gravity is a very serious villain, and he deserves better than this crappy story. I think I said the same thing last issue, that everyone involved deserved better. And we have this guy here, this random guy that is meant to be Hercules Man. He speaks like Hercules Man, but the artist has just drawn a random pedestrian. And then they defeat Count Gravity, they defeat the bad guy the exact same way as in issue 1. Division uses his powers, and that is the end of another badly drawn, weak story in Avengers Unplugged. This is one of those comics. This is one of them that you read and you hate it, and then a week later or a month later or whatever, you think back and you convince yourself it cannot be that bad. The ingredients are there, but the comic just isn't fit for consumption. I cannot decide if this is worse or better than issue 1, but I do know that it's getting 7 thumbs up for its troubles.